to be so nasty.
Well, I think the American people are they're getting fed up with it. They're taking to the streets. The tea parties taxed enough already. I mean, people have had enough. I mean, to take it to the level where now you see somebody fly a plane into a building just to make a point. I mean, the guy is already becoming a folk hero on the internet. If you just do a Google search of his name, I mean, you start to see images, and we've got some images we're going to show on the show that people have already created, like making this guy a hero. People I've talked to, just around town here, are practically applauding what this guy has done. Now, I don't personally believe that acts of violence are going to get us anywhere. In fact, I think that's more what they want to further clamp down on the American people. So, I'm surprised that this hasn't happened previously. The way that the IRS tears up families, the way that it causes people to literally kill themselves. I had a friend who killed himself because of the IRS, and it's horrible that this is happening.
I think the sad thing is that the culture of fear that's been developed over the decades is what, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I mean, I think that culture is what gets people all riled up and worried. And really, like I say, I've been through quite a lot of persecution thanks to the IRS. And the thing is that, life can go on. I mean, if you end up valuing your things and the IRS takes your things away, then certainly that's going to be a problem. But, life can go on, and I think it's unfortunate that there's a lot of people out there that have been subjected to this propaganda machine over the years, and they simply they can't find any hope, and that's what's really sad.
Do you think we're going to see more of these types of events in the next few years?
I hope not, because I really think it's counterproductive. I think what would be productive is to have 10, 50, 100 times the number of activists, peaceful activists, that you and I associate with. That would be much more effective in reining in this abuse. A few acts of violence here and there aren't going to bring more people to our side, and that our side being the side of truth and trying to expose what it is the IRS actually does to people. So I hope that it doesn't happen. It certainly could, because there's the copycat syndrome that's even talked about when crimes are committed, and sometimes there are copycat criminals that go out and do the exact same thing. So I hope people keep cooler heads, and that we don't need to force this by any kind of violence. We simply need, if the American people aren't ready as a group to say enough is enough, then people flying planes into buildings or harming IRS agents is not going to get anything done.
Well, the mainstream media has already started spinning this in such a way that they're blaming Tea Partiers, they're blaming constitutionalists, they're calling them anti-government groups. When I have firsthand knowledge that the groups that they are actually speaking of are merely they are pro-Constitution groups. They want to get the corruption out of Washington, D.C. They have love of country, love of the government, love of what the founders created for this nation, and there's nothing anti about it. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm very mistrustful of the media, and I have good reason to be. I was invited to be on 60 Minutes 2 years ago, back in 2001. And I was told by the producer that, we just want to show America that you're just a regular person and that you're a family man and that you have these, strong beliefs. But when it actually came out, when the show was actually broadcasted, it was a complete smear job, and nothing compared to what they said that it would be. So the media loves to lie to people to get their interview or their opinion on something, and then they'll spin it around. And the IRS is also that way too. As I said, they have quite the press office and the propaganda arm, and they really work arm in arm with the media to cultivate this idea of fear, or this idea that somehow people like you or people like me are violent or prone to violence, or that somehow we're not thinking clearly or we're mentally ill. Believe me, those are subtle reminders that the media and the government love to do.
Joe, I got one more question, and then we got to run. Um, there's a lot of talk out there about getting rid of the IRS, abolishing the IRS. What are your thoughts on just doing away with it, or and not just that, but replacing it with something, or replacing it with nothing?
Well, I like the constitutional approach, which worked very well up until the early 1900s. Somehow, some way, the United States of America was able to thrive quite nicely without an income tax. And I've seen nothing but trouble ever since the early 1900s as we've had this income tax. We've had booms and busts, the Great Depression, all the economic problems that we're having now, jobs leaving the country, manufacturing completely leaving the country. I don't see any benefit, and of course, American people being afraid of their own government. So I don't see the current system as necessary or desirable in any way whatsoever. As far as a replacement, I don't really think it needs to be replaced. If we follow the Constitution, a lot of these expenditures that the government makes wouldn't be done. They would not even happen. And I realize that this would have to occur over a period of time. Many Americans are used to being dependent on the government, and I don't advocate just, flicking a switch and making it all go away. But I do advocate being honest with the American people that the federal income tax system is deceitful. It's violent, actually. There's violence that's actually committed by the IRS against Americans. And that's why I'm so thankful there's few times when Americans turn the tables and commit that violence on the IRS. But the fact of the matter is the IRS is very violent towards the American people every day, and by the thousands and hundreds of thousands.
Well, Joe, I want to thank you for joining us on this edition of the Reality Report. We hope to have you back again soon, talk more about these types of issues, and we'll talk to you then.
Thank you very much for having me, Gary. Take care.